Hi, I'm Stephanie Robinson, Communications and Engagement Manager at the Sacramento Tree Foundation. And today I'm here at Land Park, where in recent years we've unfortunately lost quite a few elms to Dutch elm disease. But as you can see behind me, we still have a lot of heritage elms here that need protecting. That's why I've built an app for our Save the Elms program so that community scientists, volunteers just like you, can monitor these elms for Dutch elm disease and report any findings through a smartphone app or on their tablets or computers. So here's how you can monitor elms for Dutch elm disease.
All right, so this is what the monitoring app looks like on an internet browser on my computer. I realize that most of you will probably be using this on your cell phone, and although the process is the same, it looks a little bit different. So I will also give a demonstration on my cell phone towards the end of this video if you'd like to see that. I'm going to start just by giving an overview of how to prioritize which trees you should monitor, and then also how to submit a monitoring record with this app. If you're tech savvy, that might be enough to get you off and running, but if you're not tech savvy, that's okay. I'll also give a little overview of these buttons in a little while after we submit this monitoring record demonstration. So you'll notice some different colored dots and also these orange and yellow areas. This is my attempt to make this as easy as possible to really see which trees need to be monitored. The orange and yellow areas are heat maps showing previous DED cases going back to 2019. And as you know from the Dutch elm disease training, the disease spreads either by root grafts or by bark beetles that can fly between trees. So trees that are near elms that have already been removed for Dutch elm disease are at the highest risk. So that is one way you can prioritize which trees to monitor. If you go look for elms that are near the ones that were already removed, that's a good place to start. But then if you click this little icon here, that's the layers button, and you click over to the legend tab, you'll see the legend showing what the different colors for each dot mean. We have gray dots have not been monitored yet. Yellow dots are trees that were monitored more than 2 weeks ago, so they need to be monitored again. And then green dots are trees that are good to go for a little while. They've been monitored within the last 2 weeks. So when you are prioritizing, you can also look for gray and yellow dots. It's totally okay to look for trees or to submit records for trees that have already been monitored in the last 2 weeks, especially if you notice something questionable. But we're just not really prioritizing those. We're trying to make sure we monitor every single elm in Sacramento at least a couple times over the course of this season. So the gray and yellow dots are the way you do that. And you'll see this yellow dot here is one that I submitted a record for on March 31st. So it has turned yellow. There were no leaves back then, so it couldn't really be monitored, but this is just for an example. You'll notice that when I click on the dot, this little pop-up appears with some basic details. And then down here in the corner of the pop-up, you can click through to see all the monitoring records submitted for this tree by yourself or by other volunteers. So also when you click these pop-ups, you'll see that this form over here auto-populates some of the details. Now you can't change any of this information about species, address, or tree ID. This is mostly just to minimize errors in data. So click the dot, this auto-populates. You'll choose the date that you monitored this tree, which will automatically be set to today's date, but you can change it to whatever date you happen to monitor the tree. Then you type in your name, and we're asking for full name, but if you'd rather stay anonymous, you can use your first name and the last initial. And then a simple yes or no. Is this tree showing symptoms of Dutch elm disease? And this tree is not showing any symptoms right now. It doesn't even have leaves, but just for an example, I'll select yes, and you'll notice that a requirement comes up to submit photos of that tree. So I will just include a photo of another case of Dutch elm disease here and keep scrolling down. Ignore this smaller map completely. Don't mess with it. That is just to help make sure that your record also shows up on this map. And then you'll submit it. And we're going to watch here. It'll probably take a few seconds, but this dot will eventually change from yellow to green. And then we can click on it and confirm that our monitoring record went through. So right now, it's just showing the record I submitted on the 31st, and it is now showing the record that I just submitted today with the photo. And when you submit a positive report for DED, when you say, yes, this tree has DED, it emails me, so I know to go look for it. And now the dot has turned green, so we know our monitoring record has been submitted and it's up to date. So if that's all you need, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about the rest of this overview. But if you are wondering what all these buttons do, then stick around for another minute. Some of it's pretty self-explanatory, like the plus and minus icons for zoom. You can use this icon to detect your location, and it'll automatically pan the map to wherever your device is, although you must have your location services turned on for this to work. This compass here orients you to north-south in case you twist your orientation around, just so you can get your map reoriented again. The search icon is really handy if you're looking for a tree at a specific address. Let's say you just happen to be walking down the street and you notice a house that has a flagging elm right out front. You can type in the address to find it that way, or you can also type in the name of a park. For example, let's type in McClatchy Park. We had a couple cases there in the past couple years, so you can zoom to that result and find locations that way. You can also type in the names of businesses or schools in addition to actual addresses. So that's the search feature. The layers feature I briefly showed you, but it has the legend tab and then the layer tab. And most of these layers are turned on. If anything is too distracting for you, like maybe the previous DED cases are just making it hard for you to see, you can go ahead and turn those on or off. There's also a new feature this year that I added to show reports of Dutch elm disease from this year. So these have not been confirmed by me or by the city. These are just other volunteers saying, hey, I think this tree has DED. So if you've never seen DED in person, maybe you want to go take a look and see if you can see what the other person suspected. And then finally, I'll zoom out a little bit. This base map gallery is set to just this neutral gray background, but maybe you prefer a darker background, maybe you prefer a more typical street map, or maybe you prefer satellite imagery. You can go ahead and choose whichever base map is best for you.
This is what the app looks like on an iPhone, and it should look pretty similar regardless of what device you're using. It'll also look kind of like this if you're on a tablet like an iPad. So the only main difference is that things are a little more smushed together and the form is on top instead of side by side with the map. But if the map is too small and you need to expand it to just about full screen, just tap the little arrow icon in the center to collapse the form. And that way you can just pinch in and out to zoom and find a specific tree that you're looking for. And then when you're ready, if you click a dot, it'll show a really abbreviated pop-up and you just tap that box one more time to expand it all the way. And if that's the tree you want to monitor, then click the arrow that's now at the top of the screen and the form will drop down again. So it's very similar. You might have to enable some permissions, for example, for it to access your location, or if you are reporting Dutch elm disease, you might need to grant permissions to use your camera or to access your photos on your phone. But if you're really running into issues with that, let me know and I can help walk you through it. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward and simple. All of the other buttons have the same functions and everything is just a little bit smaller on the mobile version. If you experience any issues with this or with the desktop versions, please let me know. A lot of it is going to depend on your internet connection. You will need access to either Wi-Fi or your cellular data. But other than that, it should be pretty straightforward. This is a very widely used, robust platform that has a lot of support. And then there are also ways, if you're on iPhone or Android or some other type of phone, that you can save a website to your home screen. So it's kind of like an app. You don't have to remember the exact URL or web address every time. You can Google how to save a website to your home screen for iPhone or for Android. And there's plenty of instructions there. It's pretty straightforward on all devices. Like I said, please let me know if you run into any issues or have any questions. You can contact me at engage@sactree.com, or you can call our main line at 916-924-8733 and tell somebody that you'd like to speak with somebody about STEP.